Morning, students. In the previous class, we have seen what are nucleic acids, which are called genetic materials. So, how many types of nucleic acids are there? Among those, DNA and RNA, which is found as genetic material in majority of the organism, that is DNA, is found as genetic material in majority of the organisms. RNA is found as genetic material in few organisms. And these two, whether it is a DNA or RNA, they are nucleic acids, and a nucleic acid is made up of nucleotides, units of nucleic acids. A nucleotide is made up of three components, that is a sugar, pentose sugar, along with N2 base or nitrogenous base, nitrogen containing compound, to which a phosphoric acid is attached as phosphate group. So, a nucleic acid, a nucleotide consists of three components, that is a phosphate group, it is attached to pentose sugar, this pentose sugar is attached to N2 base or nitrogenous base or nitrogen containing compound. Here phosphate group is phosphoric acid H3PO4. It is attached to pentose sugar with the help of phosphoester bond. A pentose sugar is attached to N2 base. In this N2 base, four options are there, maybe adenine, guanine, cytosine. Here fourth one changes. If it is DNA, thymine will be there. If it is RNA, uracil will be there. So to a pentose sugar, out of the 5 types of bases, any one base is attached with N-glycosidic bond. N-glycosidic bond. Here questions, all these three togetherly called one nucleotide. One nucleotide. Then in a nucleotide, what are the three components? We will give the same answer: phosphate, pentose sugar, and N2 base. Out of these, any one. Either adenine with pentose sugar, or guanine with pentose sugar, cytosine, or thymine with, in RNA, uracil. And the sugar and N2 base bond is N-glycosidic bond. Sugar and phosphate is. Now again, a sugar with N2 base is called nucleoside. Nucleoside. A sugar with N2 base is called nucleoside. Now what is a nucleotide? A phosphate plus a nucleoside is called nucleotide. Or a nucleotide is a nucleoside and phosphate, or phosphate, pentose sugar, N2 base. And the bonds are like this. So in nucleic acid, which is having many nucleotides like this, arranged end to end, one above the other, one above the other, one, this total one nucleotide is equal to one monomer. So many monomers joins to form polymer, and here a polymer or polynucleotide chain, a polynucleotide chain consists of many nucleotides join together. How they were joined together? With phosphodiester bonds. With phosphodiester bonds between one nucleotide with another nucleotide of the chain. So a polymer or a polynucleotide chain consists of many nucleotides. First, they were joined together. How they were joined together? With phosphodiester bonds. What is phosphodiester bonds? Between one nucleotide or between two nucleotides. Every two nucleotides. Between every two nucleotides. Between every two nucleotides in a chain. So phosphodiester bonds, phosphoester bond and glycosidic bond. Let us see a polymer. Let us see a polymer having phosphoester bond, phosphodiester bond and glycosidic bond. A polymer having glucose, pentose sugar, first carbon atom attached to, if two rings are there, it should be adenine or guanine. If a single ring is there, pyrimidine, thymine or cytosine or uracil. First carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, fifth carbon attached to phosphate, phosphoester bond and glycosidic bond. Here, third carbon of this sugar bonds with fifth carbon of another sugar molecule. First carbon, maybe thymine or cytosine. If it is a RNA, maybe uracil or cytosine. Phosphodiester bonds and glycosidic bond. Two nucleotides are there. Third nucleotide, maybe it is, and here first, second, third prime OH group is present, HOH. So always in a polynucleotide chain, one end of the chain is having a polarity of 3 prime, and this polarity is always having one OH free group, 3 prime polarity. One nucleotide bonds with another nucleotide with phosphodiester bonds. Again, this nucleotide bonds with another nucleotide with phosphodiester bonds. And finally, the other end of this chain is 5 prime phosphate group is present. 5 prime. So the polarity of polynucleotide chain in this diagram, the polarity of polynucleotide chain in this diagram One end is always having 3 OH. This is called 3' end. 3' end. Another end is having always fifth position of the carbon phosphate group attached, always 5' end. And according to this, a polynucleotide chain is having, this is the backbone. Backbone means like a structure, a polynucleotide chain. Backbone is made up of phosphate sugar, phosphate sugar, phosphate sugar. Alternating molecules of phosphate and sugar, which are called backbone. And the N2 bases are projecting outside, inside. It is outside, it is inside. If this is outside, so N2 bases projecting from the backbone. If this is outside, it is inside. Projecting from the backbone, inner one, inside. Phosphate and sugar, backbone. How many diester bonds are there? 2 nucleotides is equal to 1 diester bond. 2 nucleotides is equal to, so every 2 nucleotides is equal to 1 diester bond. Here in the diagram, 3 nucleotides are there, 2 phosphodiester bonds are there, N minus 1. How many phosphoester bonds are there? Phosphoester bond is there. Numerical numbers, my dear students. How many N-glycosidic? One nucleotide is equal to 1 base, so 1 glycosidic bond. The total number of is equal to total number of N-glycosidic bonds. If 10 are there, 10 bonds. 20 are there, 20. 100 are there, 100 bonds. N-glycosidic bonds. So, the structure of nucleosides and nucleotides in the form of a polynucleotide chain. So, here these results are not came all of a sudden, but it has taken a long time, approximately nearly 100 years of time. More than 60, 70, 80, 90 years, nearly, because the date when Frederick Miescher discovered nucleic acids in the years 1869 and called them as nuclein. Later, there were nucleic acids by Altman. Later, these nucleic acids are having this type of composition. Gradually, even discovered pentose sugars. Straight questions. Deoxyribose and ribose. After that, Altman only discovered phosphoric acid. That's why he called nuclein as nucleic acid. Acid means the acidic nature of the acidic property of the nucleus is because of the presence of phosphoric acid. So gradually, Kossel identified presence of purines and pyrimidines. So if we take the historical account of the discovery, even though it was for the first time long ago, it was discovered, and gradually one by one, all the components of the nucleic acids or nucleotides are discovered. Pentose sugars are discovered by Levin, and purines and pyrimidines are discovered by Kossel, and Kossel got Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1910. Kossel, Nobel. Gradually, the days when the structure of DNA, which is called a double helix, and the model was in the form of a structure presented to this world, it has taken a long time of historical account. In this, after the discovery of purines, we have adjusted. So nucleic acids are like this, and they thought at the time of 1953. So from the beginning of the discovery of nucleic acids, 1869, until 1953, so many various components of the nucleic acids were discovered, and they thought that there is no clear-cut idea or picture how this DNA or nucleic acid, DNA is made up of, how it is structurally coordinated, arranged, with what it is made up of, what is its model. For example, human being is like this, animal is like this, a plant is like this, like that, how DNA is. They are having illusions. No clear-cut picture. Only before 1953, illusions are there on the structure of DNA. What is that illusion? DNA may be round shaped. DNA may be round shaped, or some other linear shaped, or some other shaped, spirally arranged, coiled. That so many illusions are there, and these illusions are made, finally concluded, Watson and Crick. Watson and Crick in 1953 presented double helix model of DNA. So they have erased all those illusions and confirmly presented that DNA is a nucleic acid as a genetic material. It is having a structure like this, final structure, and it was the greatest discovery of 20th century, the greatest discovery in the modern biology. And they came to conclude DNA is a double helix. The conclusion of Watson and Crick concluded and presented by the studies, by the aid of various other scientists. First one, Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. So these two scientists, Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin, male, female, with the help of X-ray diffractions, X-ray diffraction studies observed that DNA nucleic acid having a helical nature, twisted nature, so what they observed, so illusions are various types. DNA is like this, DNA is like that. But with X-ray diffractions, X-ray crystallography, they observed that in the X-ray tube, they are able to identify some structures like this and one dark band, some structures like this and one dark band. They observed that these structures are having a fold at every 34 angstroms or 3.4 nanometers distance. So there is a coil, it is having free structure like this, and at a distance of 34 angstroms or 3.4 nanometers, they were folded, which gives a dark band. Again, they were split like this, 34, they were again folded. They thought that it is nothing but DNA molecule is like that. So this idea was presented to that botanical society where the Watson and Crick are conducting experiments. By taking this idea, and with the help of second scientist, Irwin Chargaff, proposed chemical analysis of DNA. Irwin Chargaff proposed by the chemical analysis of DNA that in DNA, purines and pyrimidines, in DNA, purines and pyrimidines are in equal amounts. Chargaff's analysis, chemical analysis, chemical studies. What chemical studies are here? He analyzed the DNA and he has proposed that in a DNA molecule of given amount or in a DNA molecule, the amount of purines is always equal to the amount of pyrimidines, are equal in amounts. It means the total amount of purines is equal to the total amount of pyrimidines. So Irwin Chargaff's proposition of equivalent amounts of bases, which is called Chargaff's base equivalence theory. Chargaff's base equivalence theory. In the DNA, according to Chargaff, the bases are in equal amounts. Which bases? Purines and pyrimidines. Or It is well known as Chargaff's rule, Chargaff's law. Chargaff's law states that in the DNA, the amount of purines and pyrimidines are in equal amounts. Or Chargaff's rule says that in the DNA molecule, the amount of purines and pyrimidines are in equal ratios. Or it is also called as base equivalence theory or base equivalence ratio according to Chargaff's in determining the structure of DNA. By taking these, Maurice Wilkins and Franklin's studies, X-ray diffractions, X-ray crystallography, and observing, having the idea that DNA is a helically and twisted structure. After that, in that helical twisted structure, the amount of purine and pyrimidine should be equal. Our Watson and Crick, they have proposed a famous, simple but famous model, that is double helix model for DNA. Double, and it was accepted worldwide. For this discovery, what discovery? Double helix model. With this discovery of double helix model, Watson, Crick, Wilkins, they were awarded Nobel Prize. So the discovery, behind the discovery of DNA double helix, the work of many scientists. This work truly only for the discover how DNA is, what is its structure, what is its model, its shape. And this famous DNA double helix model says that DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains. Two polynucleotide chains which are twisted together. The other concepts we will see, parallel, anti-parallel, all these things. DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains which are twisted together. Each polynucleotide has many nucleotides. And these two chains are held together with hydrogen bonds. So, hydrogen bonds between two polynucleotide chains discovered by Pauling. Pauling's principle of hydrogen bonds, which will held. This is one polynucleotide chain where sugar, phosphate, N2 base, sugar, N2 base, phosphate, sugar, N2 base, one chain. In one chain, always the backbone is sugar and phosphate alternating, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, and it is called backbone. And N2 bases are projecting inside Here question comes, what is inside means another polynucleotide chain is there, sugar, phosphate, N2 base, sugar, phosphate, N2 base, sugar, phosphate, N2 base. Now this is one chain having a backbone of sugar and phosphate. This is another chain having a backbone of sugar and phosphate, outside, and the N2 bases are projecting inside. N2 bases are projecting inside, and according to Pauling, between one nucleotide of one chain with another nucleotide of another chain, there is a bond. These bonds are called hydrogen bonds. Between bases of opposite chains, hydrogen bonds are there. The discovery of hydrogen bonds. Because of hydrogen bonds, these two chains are held together. Which was proposed by Pauling. Let us see the detailed information regarding Chargaff's principle and structure of the DNA, two polynucleotide chains. Chargaff's principle says that in a given amount of DNA, amount of purine is equal with pyrimidines. How to understand amount of purine is equal to amount of pyrimidine? For example, in a DNA molecule, adenine is equal to thymine. Guanine is equal to cytosine. So Erwin Chargaff's law is R amount of adenine is equal with amount of thymine and cytosine. Or in a given amount of DNA, for example, purines is 50%, pyrimidines 50%, and total amount of adenine is equal to thymine. So for example, if adenine is 20, thymine is also 20. Adenine and guanine, adenine is 20, thymine also 20. So adenine and guanine 50% means guanine should be 30, cytosine should be 30. 30 plus 20, 50%. Or the total amount of is equal to 1. See? In a given amount of DNA, the ratio of purines and pyrimidines total is equal to constant 1, and different species of organisms, this ratio is different, and in a particular species it is constant. So in various ways we can predict this. For example, to understand this in a more clear, there is some amount of DNA here. DNA is made up of 2 chains, and here question comes, in better way to understand what are these 2 chains indicates. One chain is always having 1 3' and OH group, opposite end 5' phosphate. So 3 prime, 5 prime. The another chain is having reverse direction. It is having 3 prime OH, 5 prime phosphate. 5 prime phosphate. So always one is moving in this direction, another is moving in opposite direction. So here both are looking like the railway track which is going parallel to each other. Parallel to, but they were not in same direction. They were in opposite directions. One moves 3 prime to 5 prime, other moves 5 prime to 3 prime. Or reverse of the first one. If it is moving like this, it should be like this in general. Here one is 3 prime to 5 prime. Generally we used to call another one is 5 prime to 3 prime, but when we study the direction of the nucleic acid, the direction of the polynucleotide chain depends upon the position of the oxygen atom. Always these are polynucleotides. Polynucleotides which are having so many nucleotides, N2 base, N2 base, N2 base, and in between two nucleotides there is phosphodiester bond between 3 prime and 5 prime. Between every two nucleotides 3 prime phosphodiester bond, only phosphoester bond, and always 1, 2, 3 third position OH group 3 prime. So the oxygen atom direction is like this, 5 prime phosphate group. The other strand is in reverse. It should be like this. First N2 base, second, third carbon atom OH group 3 prime, fourth, fifth phosphate group attached to the other nucleotide, first N2 base, second, third phosphodiester bond, first N2 base, second, third phosphodiester bond. So if this is 3 prime end OH, and always the other end is 5 prime at phosphate. So this is called two strands polynucleotide chains. This is a chain which is having sugar phosphate backbone, another chain reverse, sugar phosphate backbone, outside, inside is projecting N2 bases, N2 bases are projecting inside, and between two N2 bases bond is there, hydrogen bond, and this is by Pauling hydrogen bond proposal. So always between N2 bases hydrogen bonds are existing. Because of these hydrogen bonds, these two chains are held together, and this direction is called parallel and anti-parallel. And always the amount of purines is equal to amount of, if purines are 50% in a given amount of DNA, the other 50% should be of pyrimidines. Or here again, in a given molecule of DNA which is having few nucleotides, for example, A is equal to 2, T is equal to A, the total amount of adenine is equal to thymine, total amount of thymine is equal to adenine, total amount of guanine is equal to cytosine, cytosine is equal to guanine. But in a given element, total is equal to 1. So 50% purines, 50% pyrimidines. To understand this, there is a DNA molecule having, DNA molecule means always two strands. In this DNA molecule, there are 40 adenines, then find out how many cytosine present in that molecule. So they have given 40 adenine and they are asking about cytosine. But in the DNA always A bonds with thymine, guanine bonds with cytosine. Always A bonds with thymine. So if A is 40, thymine also should be 40. A is equal to T or T is equal to A. In a given amount, if it is 100, 40 plus T, 80. So remaining in 100 minus 80 is equal to 20. What will be the amount of cytosine? By 2. Why? Because guanine and cytosine 2 are there. 10 guanine, 10 cytosine. So answer is cytosine amount is 10. Why? 40 adenine plus 10 guanine. 40 plus 10, 50 purines. 40 plus 10, 50 pyrimidines. 50% are total amount of AT is equal to total amount of GC. Or A by T, G by C. Or A and G is equal to T and C. A always equals to T, G always equals to C. And both are equal to 1 in a given sample of DNA. Here, so this direction is called anti-parallel. What is anti-parallel? Anti-parallel. If one strand moves in 3' to 5, other strand in reverse. Other strand in reverse. Again, in the DNA, always adenine should bond with thymine, or thymine should bond with adenine, or in a amount of DNA, guanine should bond with cytosine, or cytosine should bond with guanine. Always, then only it is possible that Irwin-Chargaff's law or rule of base equivalence ratio. If if A is bonded to C or G is bonded to D, we cannot get Irwin-Chargaff's rule. And as a matter of fact, Irwin-Chargaff's rule and Rosalind Franklin's work, Watson and Crick's proposition of model of DNA, it should be under the rules of Mendelian principles of inheritance. Whenever during the principles of inheritance given by Mendel, factors are responsible for the formation of characters and they are responsible for transmission of characters from one generation to the next generation. Whenever a tall plant is crossed with a short plant, characters are present, tallness and shortness. In the first generation, out of these two, one is be tall expressed, law of dominance. In the next generation, when two such are, so how characters are transmitted from one organism to another organism is called Mendelian inheritance. If DNA is not like this, it is impossible to get Mendelian laws, Mendelian inheritance. We cannot get the results. So total Mendelian genetics, a total biology itself becomes. So here, according to the double helix model of Watson and Crick, what he wants to say? He wants to say, he has shown to the world and he got Nobel Prize that DNA is a nucleic acid. It is made up of polymer of nucleotides or polynucleotide. It is not made up of single chain. It is made up of two chains which are moving opposite to each other, anti-parallel. They were parallel and anti-parallel. And according to the presentation of Franklin and Wilkins, even though it is parallel, but It is always not parallel. At sometimes, at certain places, these two chains are twisted. Again, they move parallel. Again, a particular interval, they are twisted. Again, they are. So, this is called double helix. Double helix. And they observed that Watson and Crick, the distance between these, that is called one coil. At one coil or one twist or one helix or one turn or one pitch, one gyre. Gyre means folding. One turn, helix, twist is equal to one coil. So this, when we study this, in general, when we want to study here a full amount, one full turn, how to understand this full turn? Here nucleotides are there, nucleotides are there. What is a nucleotide? Sugar phosphate N2 base. Sugar phosphate N2 base are joined with hydrogen bonds. Joined with hydrogen bonds. Like that, when our Watson and Crick studied and suggested between two nucleotides of opposite chain, a bond is made called hydrogen bond. Again, between one nucleotide, another nucleotide, a bond is made, hydrogen bond. These two are called pairs of nucleotides. These two are called a pair of nucleotide. The hallmark proposition for the famous double helix model. The hallmark, how they proposed, how they got conclusion, how they were having confirmation, what is the reason behind their success to give this model of DNA is this one, a pair of nucleotides. What is a pair of nucleotides? We cannot say this is a pair of nucleotides in the same chain. These two are called adjacent nucleotides in the same chain. Adjacent, 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 adjacent. But these two nucleotides which are opposite, in one chain one nucleotide, another chain another nucleotide, these two are called complementary nucleotides. Complementary. So such a pair is called complementary base pairing. Complementary base pairing. So the hallmark proposition in the elucidation of DNA as genetic material, DNA double helix model, they got succeeded that complementary base pairing is existing between the two strands of DNA. It means in one strand, sugar, phosphate, if adenine is here, on the other strand, it should bond with thymine, sugar, phosphate. Adenine is complementary to thymine. Thymine is complementary to adenine. and always adenine bonds with thymine only. Adenine cannot bond with any other N2 base. In the same way, thymine bonds only with adenine. It cannot bond with any other. This is called adenine and thymine are called complementary base pairs or base complementation. Base complementation was indirectly because of the Irving-Chargaff's law of purines and pyrimidines are in equal amounts. 50% purines, then 50%. According to Irving-Chargaff's law, 50, it is possible. If it is not possible, adenine can bond with any other or thymine can bond with the structure of the DNA. Double helix will be not only difficult but impossible for the Watson and Crick to propose. So their proposition is having some hallmarks. That is a discovery of a helical model according to the S-ray diffraction X-ray crystallography, and the proposition of chemical analysis says in a given amount of DNA or in the DNA molecule, the amount of purines should be equal to amount of pyrimidines. How amount of purines should be equal to amount of pyrimidines? Unless they will form like this, unless a purine bonds with a pyrimidine or a pyrimidine bonds with a purine, it is not possible to maintain equal amounts of purines and pyrimidines. So Chargaff has given a clear picture, the basic understanding how to create a model of DNA. So always A bonds with T, T bonds. So A and T are called complementary base pairs, or in the DNA double helix, base complementation is existing. In the DNA double helix, base complementation is existing between purines and pyrimidines. And it is like this. A always bonds with thymine with 2 bonds. With 2 hydrogen bonds. G always bonds with cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds. We will see why it is 2 and why it is 3. But what is base complementation, or what are called complementary base pairs? Base complementation or complementary base pairs means in the DNA molecule, A always bonds with thymine and guanine always bonds with cytosine with 3 bonds. Thymine always bonds with adenine and always cytosine bonds with guanine with 3 bonds, and always a DNA is having polarity 5' end OH 3' end. Here 5' OH. So this is polarity. One strand is having 3' end, then the opposite strand is having 5' end, or 3' end of one strand at the base is opposite with the 3' end with another strand with the apex. And always ATGC. Then they observed This is one pair of nucleotide. So polynucleotide chains and having pairs. One nucleotide pair, two nucleotide, a pair, another pair, another pair. So one pair is equal to two nucleotides. Always in the form of pairs. And then a question arises, what will be the distance between two nucleotides of a chain? This is one nucleotide, another nucleotide. The distance between these two nucleotides, when our discoverers of DNA double helix, Watson and Crick, when they have proposed, they identified it is 3.4 angstroms or 0.34 nanometers between every two. Always 3.4 angstroms or 0.34. Like that, when they counted, this helix consists of 10 base pairs. 10 base pair means space. 10 base pairs means one pair is equal to 2 nucleotides. 10 base pairs is equal to 20 nucleotides is equal to one turn, one helix, one pitch, one gear, one coil, one twist, one gyre. So, my dear students, we will see the continuity of the class in the coming classes. So, proposition of Chargaff's rule, Wilkin and Franklin's, Watson and Crick's. We will study various types of numerical numbers, which are called problems of national level examinations. We will see in the coming days. So thoroughly see the structure, keeping in view. So in the NCERT textbook, they might have jumbled like this. Some are here, some are there, jumbled, not in a format. Try to identify that jumbled, arrange and prepare your own notes to understand. All the best.